Hello, this is Archie Dunlop with Talking Astrology with Archie on Monday, June the 26th, 2023. When I made videos about Meghan and Harry, I found that most people commenting were not favourably disposed towards them. Yet a couple of people were certainly, as far as I could see, sympathetic to Meghan. And I think they thought that she had been treated unfairly. And they also raised the issue about William and his wife, Kate, Catherine, whatever, Princess of Wales, whatever you want to call her. And they said, well, what about William and Catherine? How good is their marriage? People never talk about them in a negative sense. That seems to be unfair. So what I want to do today is actually look at Catherine and William's horoscopes together. And I also want to look at Prince George's horoscope. I mean, I've covered Prince George's horoscope already, but I do want to go over it again. And I want to, consider the timing of when I believe he will announce or make it clear that he doesn't want to be king. I think this is a very important thing about Prince George, because I do not believe that he's suited to be King of England. And I want to look at what age might he decide on making this announcement, because I'm just pretty sure it's going to happen. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by looking at Catherine's chart. So let's go straight into the astrology and her chart. I'm not too sure what she's called. Is she the Princess of Wales, Princess Catherine, Kate Middleton? I don't know. Here is her chart, and she was born on January the 9th, 1982 at 7 p.m. in Reading in England. So the first thing to notice is that she was born at the time of a full moon. In fact, it was a total eclipse of the moon. You can tell that it was a full moon because there's the moon at 18 Cancer, there's the sun at 19 Capricorn, opposition each other, definition of a full moon. And then you can see that the nodes, north and south nodes, are very close to the sun and the moon. And that is, by definition, a sign of an eclipse. So yeah, she was born on an eclipse, an incredibly powerful thing to be born under. You'll notice that the north node is on the moon, conjunct the moon, and the south node is on the sun. So how do we read that? Well, in a female chart, as women get older, certainly after the age of about 21, the moon sign tends to become stronger and the sun sign tends to get weaker. It's the opposite for men. After about 21, the sun sign really starts to come into its own. So there is her moon in Cancer, and that's where she is going to. What is the moon in Cancer about? It's quite an emotional sign. It's connected with the family, and moon in Cancer in the 12th house. I think that suggests a certain amount of chaos, and I mean chaos actually in a positive sense. Just being able to deal with situations where things aren't clear cut. And that contrasts with the 6th house, which is all about organization, detail. She's got Sun in Capricorn in the 6th house. That relates to the past. Her parents, I believe, are self-made, millionaires. They've set up their own business and they've done very well with their business, and then presumably that would require a lot of organization and whatever, and that would have been the line of perhaps least resistance for her, maybe to get involved with the family business or something like that. But she's gone for the moon in Cancer, North Node, probably going in the right direction. Now, this might not seem apparent, but then we don't know what's going on in her life, really. We don't know what's really going on under the surface. But her moon is well placed, aside from the fact that it is in the 12th house. There's also a lot of grounding in this chart. Her planets, most of her planets are below the horizon, which is good. Her horoscope is anchored, and she has Jupiter conjunct the IC. That's great for anchoring in the chart. That is really good. Do I see in that chart a signature of her being married to a future King of England? Not really. I mean, one can try, but it doesn't hit me straight away that she's going to be married to someone very prominent. Now, Prince William's chart, remember, Catherine's got a full moon in Cancer, Sun in Capricorn. Prince William has got born under a new moon, Sun in Cancer, Moon in Cancer. So, that's quite incredible, isn't it? That she's a full moon person, William is a new moon person, and both were born very close to their respective lunations. There was an astrologer, Dane Rudhyar, who wrote this book called The Lunation Cycle. I used to own it once. And he talked about the lunation cycle and how it affects personality. As the new moon type of person is very different from the full moon type of person. So if you're a new moon person, as I understand his book, well, it's a very long time since I've read it, but it's something like this. If you're a new moon kind of person, it's like you come into the world and it's all new. It's like new stuff. It's interesting, bright lights. There's lots of new things to get into. There's a sort of youthful spontaneity about the new moon. Full moon is a bit more, I won't say jaded, but it's like, what the world is like. But with the full moon, there's a kind of a crisis point. You have to work out, what you do with it. So that's perhaps what Kate is about. She knows what she's got. She knows what she's been born with. And now the question is, what does she do with it? There's a crisis here. What does she do? And so that's a sort of different psychological approach between a new moon person like Prince William and a full moon person like his wife, Catherine. Now, their first child, Prince George, is also a full moon person. There you can see he's got his Sun at 29 Cancer and Moon at 28 Capricorn. Now, I've said this before. I've said it. I'm going to say it again. I do not believe with his chart that he is suited to be King of England. It's not just the fact he's got a full moon. It's the fact that all his traditional planets are in negative signs, i.e. in earth signs or water signs. He's got Jupiter, Mars, Mercury, Sun in Cancer. He's got Moon in Capricorn, Saturn in Scorpio, Venus in Virgo, and he's got Scorpio rising to cap it all. I think he's just too sensitive. Being king is just not the right, is not right for him. And I believe that at some stage he is going to renounce his claim to the throne. Now, you might be saying at this stage, you might be saying two things at this stage. You might be firstly saying, what right have I got to talk about a child like that? But I would argue this isn't any child. This is a child who has been conditioned from birth to believe he's going to become King of England. That is, of course, bizarre. I mean, completely bizarre. And whoever becomes King of England, that has an impact on the person who becomes King of England, and King of Great Britain and Northern Ireland or whatever. And it has an impact on that person. It also has an impact on the country. I mean, if the country wants to prosper, even though it's a largely ceremonial thing, being King of England, you want to have the right person on the throne. And by both tokens, it doesn't work. So that's my first point. The second point I would make is that, I was, looking at news channels that have their shown on YouTube, UK channels, and it's the way they talk about Prince George. They're saying he is going to be king. He is going to be king. It's going to happen. That nothing can stop it. He's the future King of England, King of Great Britain, Northern Ireland, or whatever. That is, I think, fairly immoral to tell someone this is what they are going to be. I mean, imagine being born and you were told from birth that you were going to be an accountant. Regardless, you didn't ask to be an accountant. You were just told you are going to be an accountant. And you will work as an accountant until you're 65. Or maybe you'll work as an accountant until you're dead. I mean, that's just ridiculous. So I was asked in terms of the comments. One commenter asked, "Well, when? Or when are we going to realize that Prince George is not going to be king? That Prince George doesn't want to be king?" We thought, maybe 18. But I think it's going to be a bit older than that. In England, you come of age at 21. I suppose you come of age at 21 in the US, don't you? But you have to be 21 to buy alcohol. In this state, you have to be 21 to buy marijuana. Maybe to buy certain firearms. I don't know. It depends where you are. Let's look at Prince George's solar return for 2034. This is the time when the sun returns to the position when he was born, but when he's to his 21st birthday. So if you look at this solar return, you look at Sun and you look at Saturn, you see that Saturn is about to make a conjunction to his Sun. So in his 22nd year, after he's 21, sometime after that, Saturn will make a conjunction to his Sun. That means, by definition, that Saturn will also make an opposition to his Moon. We also see in the solar return that the Moon is square Saturn. So perhaps this solar return represents, the first crisis, when it becomes absolutely apparent, perhaps to him, people around him, that he doesn't want to be king, is not suitable to be king. So that's one possibility. We can also use a very simple way of of making a forecast. It's something we don't need tables. We don't really need a computer program for. We can tell by eye that something difficult might happen when he's around 22, 23 years old. So let me show you. So there's his Scorpio rising. And we notice that he's got his Saturn at 5 degrees Scorpio. So there's a technique in astrology called solar arc directions. And this is when you move all the planets in the chart by 1 degree for 1 year. So if you want to know what's going to happen when someone is 10 years old, you move the planets by 10 degrees. If you want to know what's going to happen when someone's 22 years old, you move all the planets by 22 degrees. So let me show you. So there's the ascendant, 27 degrees Scorpio. There's Saturn at 5 degrees Scorpio. So you can see that Saturn is 22 degrees short of the ascendant. So that means that when Prince George is around 22 years old, he's going to have the experience of Saturn on his ascendant, solar arc directed Saturn hitting his ascendant. And at the same time as this, look at he's got a Mars-Jupiter conjunction at around 6 degrees Cancer. And there's his Sun. So if we direct the Mars-Jupiter conjunction is 23 degrees short of his Sun. So 23 degrees, so at 23, around the age of 23, he is going to feel the effect of having a Mars-Jupiter conjunction on his Sun. So that is something to consider. And a bit earlier, 22, this will be on his moon. So that is that's important, and it's his sun moon. It's his full moon is going to be hit by that Mars-Jupiter conjunction. So I'm thinking that around 21, 22 is when I personally think that's going to be the time when everyone, including George, realizes that he just doesn't want to be king, and it's just not going to happen, and one of his siblings will take his place. So those are some thoughts on William and Catherine and Prince George. Sorry for repeating myself. Some of this stuff I have said before, but I just wanted to bring it all together. And perhaps at a later stage I'll make a much longer video about the royal family if there's interest. So now I want to look at today's astrology. Now, today is Monday, June 26, 2023, and for most of us, it's not much is going to be happening. It's not a very interesting day. There's a moon in Libra. It doesn't make any aspects, particularly if you're in the US. The moon, it's just not going anywhere. So, the moon in Libra, what's it about? Okay, many of us are going to try to be very sociable. We're going to try to balance things. We're going to try and stay out of trouble. We're going to try and be reasonable. But really, that's as far as it goes, I think, for most of us. It's a time for sort of gentle communication, not being too controversial, that kind of thing, again, for most of us. However, some of us might have a more dramatic day, and that is because Mars is making a square to Uranus. There is, where's Mars gone? Mars 2140 Leo, Uranus 2131 Taurus. Those two planets are in square aspect. And what's Mars-Uranus about? It's about accidents, it's about disasters, it's about earthquakes, it's about explosions. So whatever we do, just don't do anything dangerous. Don't play with guns. Don't play with things that might explode. If you're driving, be really careful. Be careful in chemistry laboratories. Steer clear of war zones. I think that with the attempted coup we just had in Russia, we got that as Mars was approaching the square to Uranus. There may be more stuff going on. I mean, as far as I can see, that this coup is over. But we might hear news elsewhere. Not just in Ukraine and Russia, but explosions, this kind of thing, sudden, dramatic events. So that is something to watch for. Another thing going on is that the Aries point is aspecting the Jupiter-Uranus midpoint. Now, Reinhold Ebertin described the Jupiter-Uranus pair as "thank the Lord," and a great sense of relief. And this Aries point hitting a Jupiter-Uranus midpoint, it's been happening for a few days, and I'm thinking that maybe we kind of got this in Ukraine and Russia, and it was like, if you were in Ukraine on Saturday and you saw this attempted coup in Russia, you may have had this real thank the Lord feeling. It's over. Russia is collapsing, descending into civil war. This nightmare is finished. The Russians are going to go away. Thank the Lord. And then the coup dissipated, and there was probably a sense of disappointment. But then if you were Russian and you saw the news that the coup was finally dissipating, that Wagner had, were not going to try to take over the country, or Wagner were going to stand down, you might likewise have felt thank the Lord, Aries on a Jupiter-Uranus midpoint. And now today, Aries is exactly on a Jupiter-Uranus midpoint, and we may find in certain areas of our life a certain sense of relief, something perhaps we thought was bad, we were really scared of, and then we finally realize that it's fine. And so there might be a sense of great relief on a personal level, but maybe also on a global level. There may be something we hear in the news that is saying, oh, no, it's not that bad. So that is something to consider. Now, as far as my forecasts for the 12 signs, here goes. These are my forecasts for today, Monday, June the 26th. Aries, you've high expectations of other people, but be prepared for disappointment. Delicate operations need to be carefully planned and maybe put on hold. Taurus, it's difficult to get results, at least in the short term. You put in the work and the organization, but no one seems to care. But don't worry about it. Gemini, there's more room to breathe, and it will be easier to express your talents. But something said by accident could have unwelcome consequences. Cancer, at home, you're feeling balanced and well rested, and the lack of activity may be a welcome relief. Leo, you certainly have a lot of energy, but it needs to be used in the right way. Your strident approach could damage your reputation. Virgo, you can feel that something is coming to an end. You've explained yourself, even promoted yourself, but the next step is to think about your hopes and wishes. And this is because Mercury, ruler of Virgo, is about to change sign from Gemini to Cancer. Hence the concept of something coming to an end. Libra, you understand what's going on, and you recognize that if you act too soon, you could achieve next to nothing. Partners and associates are in a hurry. Scorpio, are you able to focus on your own interests? It's tempting to interfere or meddle, but the results of such behaviour won't be to your liking. Sagittarius, your social life is bubbling away. It may not be exciting, but you are making your presence felt. Promises mean very little. Capricorn, you're ready to put more work into business and career, and it's all about listening to your co-workers and balancing everyone's needs. Aquarius, what's wrong with people? They just can't just stop and think. And instead, their impulsiveness causes real problems. So what do, Aquarius? Do you interfere? Do you read people the Rat Act? Or do you just stand back and let people get on with it? It's up to you. Pisces, things are a little complicated and it may be difficult to deal with competing interests. But maybe, in your case, it really is possible to be in two places at one time. So I will now move to the I Ching, and as always, I threw my 3 coins. I asked the question, what will Monday be like for visitors to my YouTube channel? So the first hexagram I got was hexagram 45, gathering together. So I think at the beginning of the day, a lot of us are going to be trying to get in with the right group of people. It will seem to make sense. It will feel that if we're involved with the right people, then we're going to be in a better position. We'll have more influence and we'll have more control and we'll be able to get things done. However, it may be difficult. There might in certain cases be a sense in which we feel we're too late. You know, we turn up to a social situation, lots of people there, but who do we contact? Who do we have ties with? And it may be really difficult to attach ourselves to the group, and as a result, we may feel a certain sense of isolation. But that doesn't mean one gives up. One needs to be persistent and just find the right person, because all you have to do is find the right person, just one other person, and then things will start moving and you'll get the social contact and feedback that you need. This hexagram 45 does move to hexagram number 54, which is the power of the great. The power of the great suggests that we should be treading on, as Wilhelm's version of the I Ching says, we should be treading on existing paths. We should allow ourselves to be, I won't say controlled, but certainly disciplined by what has gone on in the past. We must do it the right way. And I think that connects with this gathering together I talked about. Sorry, I haven't forgot to switch. There's the power of the great. Yeah, so the power of the great 54. We have to, it's not a time to be a radical. It's not a time to have a revolution. We have to tread on existing paths, as the I Ching says. So that means we have to consider the people around us. Yes, we've been so desperate to mix with other people, to make the right contacts, but we may actually find that the people we're involved with are not actually prepared to discipline themselves in such a way that they can, get things done using a systematic, solid, though unexciting approach. So it may be, after all our attempts to find the right group of people to hang out with, that we realize that really maybe it's best that we trust our own judgment and we don't allow ourselves to be led off the beaten path by other people. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say for today. And I will talk to you tomorrow.